Welcome to your second harp lesson. Now, I should be clear because I called the first lesson first harp lesson, this is second harp lesson, but really you'd probably spend several weeks at least just working on all the material that I talked about in the first harp lesson, and in fact it might take you quite some time before you started playing with 3 and certainly with 4. You might spend quite a few lessons just working on 2 and 1 and then eventually adding 3. And this Betty Perret's first harp book is a pretty good starting, has a bunch of good starting material. And so, for example, it takes quite a while before you start adding that 4th finger in. So while I just want to stress the fact that as a new student, it's often you want to just play music, and it's very tempting to just plow ahead. So it's also very important to just take time and make sure that these fundamentals are really ingrained, because while it can seem boring, just spending time making sure that you're playing with 2 correctly, or that you're playing with your thumb correctly, is really going to pay off in the long run. So don't feel like you have to just plow ahead and get on to number 3 or 4. I mean, that's great too, but just make sure to take things somewhat slowly and not get impatient with yourself, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm using my pedal harp this week because I'm too lazy to switch everything around and get my lever harp in here. But the same, I mean, most people, of course, don't start on a pedal harp because it's pretty expensive to buy unless you know you're actually going to be using it. But it's the same technique. So what I'm going to talk about this week is what's called fingering and connecting your fingers. Because, for example, let's say you want to play this note and this note. And you could do that, or even with your thumb. But what if they were going fairly quickly? What if you need to play those pretty fast, one after another? Well, if you play and then have to find this next note and place your finger on it and then play it, that takes some time, no matter how good you are. So what you can do is place both the number 2, the first finger, and your thumb on the strings. So now you're all ready to go, and what you're going to be able to do is play these really, really fast. So I'm going to actually zoom in a little bit on my fingers and adjust this. Okay, that looks nice. So let's just break this down and take it very slowly. We're going to place 2 as if we were ready to play normally. I'm going to place the thumb on as if we were ready to play normally. And then we're just going to practice playing 2 while we keep the thumb on the string. So we're going to close the hand into the palm. The rest of the fingers are just hanging down here gently and relaxed and naturally. And we close into the palm, and again, you don't want to be doing it so forcefully that you're hurting yourself or that it feels painful, but just, you also don't want to just be sort of hanging out right here. You're just closing nicely. Just that same technique that we use if the thumb wasn't resting on the string. And let's get a glimpse. A little hard to see, I guess. I think I'll stick with the right hand. So just practicing that a bunch until it feels really comfortable, and then of course doing the reverse. So 2 is anchored there nicely as if you're ready to play, and the thumb And again, this thumb, it's not a sort of pushing towards the column with this. You're not pushing like that. You are using this joint here, and moving the thumb onto that first finger. Zoom back a little bit. And remembering, of course, to keep your right elbow reasonably high, not letting it flop all the way down. So now, once you're fairly comfortable with that, and also as you're doing that, just remembering that these fingers, they aren't clenched, no tension, and they aren't sort of wandering out around here, and of course that requires effort too. They're just hanging, just gently, loosely, relaxed, naturally. So now let's try doing one after another in succession. So we'll start with 2, and now we're just going to play one just normally as if it hadn't been connected, right? Same as we start with the thumb. Practice. This was just from one string to the next. It's a second. Practice a third. That refers to this this gap. In other words, a string, and then you're not playing the next string, but the string after that. Or maybe even a fourth. And then eventually, and again, I stress the fact that you wouldn't necessarily be doing this in your second lesson. You wouldn't necessarily be adding 3 right away either. But at some point, you will add 3 to this sort of connected idea where we're placing all 3 fingers on the strings, and we practice playing 3. And this may feel very odd, but again, these fingers are just hanging there loosely, and we're just closing right into the palm. And practice playing the thumb just to get used to the idea of playing it while these other ones are sitting there. And what's going to happen, because of course this is closed, don't worry about trying to open it and then close it again with 2, because the reason for placing is it's something that's fairly fast. So when it's happening fast, it's going to, these fingers are just sort of going to go into the palm one after another. And here, just 2 closes, because of course the other ones can't. You wouldn't want to do this, it's very awkward. And important throughout this to make sure that the hand and the wrist, the arm, they're pretty stationary. That it's just the fingers and the thumb that are doing this motion. We aren't having to do anything with the hand. And then of course eventually you'll add 4. Here, and that same. And then so that lets you do something like this. So that's the basics of connecting. And there are, of course, more things to add to that. Things like connecting, going up and then down. Or going under. But I'll look at those another week. In the meantime, let's just do a quick little look at chords.